The sky above Nairobi was clear, no storms, no warplanes, just stars. And one strange light that did not belong. It had appeared 3 nights ago, a slow-moving glow across the heavens. Then came the signal, clear, calm, and imperfect English. We come in peace. We are the Lyra. We seek shelter and friendship. No one knew what to believe at first. Governments scrambled. Scientists watched. The world waited. Then the ship landed, not with fire or force, but softly, like a feather falling from the sky. It touched down in the middle of the Sahara Desert, a place chosen by the Lyra themselves because they said it was quiet enough for trust to grow. The United Earth Council sent a small team, not soldiers but diplomats. Among them was a man named Elias Ward, a former peacekeeper turned negotiator. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, but he believed in people even when they weren't human. When the hatch opened, the world held its breath. Out stepped beings unlike any seen before. Tall, thin, with shimmering skin like water under moonlight, their eyes were large and kind. They moved slowly, not out of weakness, but respect. One of them stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but her message was strong, greater than we ask only for time. Our home is gone, our people are few. We flee from those who would see us erased. She introduced herself as Mirail, a leader among her kind. She told the truth not just with words, but with emotion. The Lyra could feel things deeply, joy, fear, hope, and pain. They shared memories, images of burning worlds, ships filled with survivors and cold-eyed enemies chasing them across space, the Vexery Dominion. She called them greater than they do not. Speak, Mirail said. They take, they destroy. We have run for many years. Now we ask, may we rest here? There was silence after she spoke. Then Elias stepped forward. He didn't have a speech prepared. He didn't need one. I don't know if we can save you, he said, but I know we won't leave you alone. That moment changed everything. Over the next weeks, more humans met the Lyra. Scientists, teachers, children, farmers, engineers. Some were afraid. Others were curious. Many became friends. The Lyra helped where they could. They repaired broken tech with tools no one understood. They healed wounds with touch alone. They sang songs that made people cry without knowing why, and slowly, something rare happened. Trust. But not everyone liked it. Some governments worried. Some generals saw danger. One man in particular, Commander Cade, watched the Lyra with sharp eyes and colder thoughts. They're too clean, he once said in a private meeting. Too kind, that's how lies begin. Still, the Earth Council voted. By a narrow margin, they decided to let the Lyra stay, at least for now, but then the warning came. A single ship appeared near Jupiter. No flags, no names, just black metal. And cold intent. It sent one message to Earth, greater than return the fugitives, do not interfere or be erased. The Vexery had found their trail. Panic spread. Some wanted to hand the Lyra over, some wanted to fight. Most just wanted to survive. The Earth Council called an emergency session. But before anyone could decide, Commander Cade acted without orders. He led a strike force to meet the Vexery ship. He took 2 Earth frigates and a group of volunteers, including some Lyra who refused to hide. They met the Vexery in orbit around Mars. What happened next shocked the galaxy. Cade didn't ask questions. He didn't beg for mercy. He attacked with weapons hot and hearts full of rage. The humans struck fast. The Lyra used their minds to confuse enemy systems. Humans fired guided missiles with deadly aim. The Vexery ship tried to escape, but it never got the chance. It burned, and the whole thing was recorded. The video spread like fire. Across Earth, across space. People saw the battle, saw the bravery, heard Cade's final words before firing, greater than you came here. You gave us a choice. We chose our friends. The message was clear. Earth was not afraid. Earth was not weak. Earth would not back down. The Vexery responded with fury. Their reply was short, cold. Humanity has declared war. We accept. And so, the stars turned red with anger. But on Earth people did not weep. They stood tall, because they had made a promise. To protect their friends. The Vexery did not come with speeches. They came with fire. Less than a month after, Commander Cade destroyed their lone ship near Mars. The Vexery launched their first full-scale attack. It was not on Earth. It was on New Eden, a small human colony orbiting Proxima Centauri. A peaceful world, farms, schools, families, no weapons. No army? That's why the Vexery chose it? Their ships dropped from hyperspace? Like wolves in the dark, silent, fast, deadly, lasers burned through the sky, bombs fell like rain. The city of Haven 7 vanished in seconds when the signal reached Earth. All it said was, "Greater than we warned you." But this time, humanity did not panic. They had been preparing. In secret, in silence, while the world debated peace. The soldiers trained. Engineers built, scientists worked, and Commander Cade gathered those who understood one thing. If you want to fight monsters, you must be ready to become something more. Arth did not beg for mercy. They answered with steel. Within days, the newly formed Terran Defense Fleet launched its first counterattack. They didn't go to war alone. The Lyra stood beside them, not as warriors, but as guides. They could feel pain before it came, fear before it spread, lies before they were spoken, and they gave humans something no other species had ever given them: trust. Commander Cade led the strike force himself. His flagship, the USS Iron Will, broke from orbit with 20 warships behind her, their target. A Vexery scouting fleet near the edge of the Sol system. Cade didn't care about rules of war. He didn't care about honor. He cared about winning, and he knew how. The Vexery expected fear. What they got was fury. Human ships dove into asteroid fields, hiding among the rocks. Lyra mines reached out, clouding enemy sensors, making radar. Then, without warning, the humans struck. Missiles lit up the void. Lasers carved through armor. Fighters danced like lightning across the battlefield. The Vexery tried to retreat. They never made it. Half their fleet was destroyed. The rest fled, broadcasting one message across the stars: greater than the Terrans are not afraid. The galaxy listened. Some races stayed silent, waiting to see who would win. Others began to hope. For centuries, the Vexery had ruled the stars with cold control. They crushed any who resisted. They erased whole worlds. Now, one of them had lost. To humans, the Vexery were furious. They sent more ships, more soldiers, more death. This time, they attacked Europa Station, a research base orbiting Jupiter. They thought it would be easy. They were wrong. The station wasn't just filled with scientists. It was filled with fighters, volunteers, civilians, turned soldiers. People who had nothing but heart and hatred for what the Vexery stood for. The battle was brutal. Lasers tore through corridors. Explosions shook the halls. Blood floated in zero gravity. But the humans held the line. Even when the lights went out, even when comms failed, even when the walls cracked, they held. And when help finally arrived, the survivors stood tall, covered in soot and fire, and said, "Greater than we're still here." As the war spread, so did the legend of the humans, not because they were stronger, not because they had better weapons, because they fought for something real they didn't conquer. They protected on a mining world called Tarsi's Prime. The Vexery dropped troops to take over the planet. They found the people waiting for them: farmers, miners, teachers, parents. They didn't have uniforms, they had guns, and they had rage. They ambushed the invaders in the forests, in the hills, in the mines. They used traps, ambush, and old machines turned into weapons. They didn't stop until the last Vexery soldier was gone. And then they didn't celebrate. They rebuilt, because that's what humans did. The Lyra didn't carry weapons, but they gave something more powerful. Hope. They walked among the soldiers, touching their minds, calming fears, giving strength where there was none. They sang songs that made the wounded forget pain. They touched dying men and gave them peace. And sometimes they reached into enemy minds and made them feel fear, sorrow, regret. Some Vexery soldiers surrendered, unable to bear the weight of what they had done. Others went mad. One pilot, captured after a battle, whispered through tears, "Greater than I saw. I felt what we've done." The Lyra didn't punish him. They gave him food, they gave him time, and they gave him a choice: fight for peace or stay broken. Across the stars, others watched. Small races, slaves, refugees. They saw the humans fighting for friends, not for power. They heard the stories of children hiding in shelters while mothers held guns, of old men building bombs in basements. Of lovers saying goodbye before going to war. And they began to believe that maybe, just maybe, the Vexry could fall. That maybe, just maybe, the humans were not just another species. Maybe they were something new, something the galaxy had forgotten. The war was no longer just a fight for survival. It had become a symbol. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like fire. Asterisk, the Terrans do not run. Asterisk, asterisk, the Terrans protect even the weak. Asterisk, asterisk, the Terrans remember every name lost. Asterisk, and now they were about to prove it again. The Vexery had taken something sacred. Not a world, not a ship, not even a leader. They had taken a promise, a Lyra. Colony world Venafor had been captured. Its people rounded up, its cities burned. The Vexery called it a lesson. Humanity called it a declaration of war. Commander Cade stood on the bridge of the USS Iron Will, staring at the star map in front of him. Do we have a plan? We go in hard, he said. We hit them fast. And we bring our people home. No one argued. This wasn't about strategy. This was about honor. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Just outside Venafor's orbit, smoke filled the sky below. Fires burned across the surface. The Vexery had turned the once beautiful world into a prison camp. Cade gave the order, launch fighters, begin orbital strike. The battle began with thunder. Human ships dived through enemy fire, shields flaring under heavy attack. Fighters wove between beams of death, striking Vexery turrets and shield generators on board a dropship. A group of soldiers and Lyra volunteers prepared for descent. Among them was Elias Ward, the same man who had first met the Lyra on Earth. He looked at Mireille, her eyes full of fear but her voice steady. They will hurt us for this, she whispered. Elias nodded. Maybe, but if we don't try, we are no better than those who watch and do nothing. The dropship landed in the middle of the ruins. Gunfire echoed in the distance. They moved. Inside the camp, the Vexery guards were waiting. They expected surrender. What they got was war. Human soldiers stormed the gates. Explosions lit up the night. Lasers cut through metal and flesh alike. Mireille walked among the captives, touching their minds, giving them strength. Some hadn't spoken in days. Some had stopped believing anyone would come. Now they believed, one by one, the Lyra survivors were led to safety. Some limped, some cried. All were free, but as the last group reached the evac zone, the Vexery struck back, heavy walkers massive. Machines of steel and flame marched toward the rescue team. Cade saw them on his comms feed. He made a choice. Rook, I'm going in. You can't, Rook shouted. You're the commander, Cade smiled grimly. And they're my people. He jumped into a fighter jet and dove straight into the battlefield. Cade's fighter roared over the ruins. Guns blazing, he targeted the lead walker, hitting its legs. It fell with a crash, crushing two others behind it. More came. He didn't stop. He flew low, covering the retreat. His fighter took hits. Smoke poured from the wings. Still, he held the line, until the last Lyra was aboard. Only then did he pull. Up. His fighter barely made it back to the ship. When he stepped off, blood ran down his face. His suit was torn, but his eyes were sharp. He looked at Elias and Mireille. They're safe, he said. Elias nodded. You risked everything. Cade looked at the burning world behind them. I promised I wouldn't leave them behind. That's all that matters. The rescue mission was broadcast across the stars. Not by humans. By spies. By rebels. By watchers in distant systems who had waited for a reason to hope. They saw the truth. The Vexery could be beaten. And the humans weren't just fighting for themselves. They fought for everyone, in hidden corners of space. New messages began to appear, greater than join the fight. Stand with the Terrans. The Vexery can fall. Rebels rose from silence. Slaves broke chains. Minor races sent secret aid, one by one. The oppressed found courage, because someone else had already shown them how. Back on Earth, The people watched the footage from V-4. Children saw heroes, sole purpose, scientists saw a reason to build stronger weapons. Farmers saw a reason to grow more food. Everyone saw one thing clearly. This was no longer just a war. It was movement. And humanity was leading it. Commander Cade stood before the United Earth Council. They asked him one question: why do you keep risking everything? He answered without hesitation: because we were given a chance to be better, and we chose to take it. Silence followed then, applause. Loud, proud. Unstoppable. The galaxy was changing, not with fire, not with fear, but with hope. After the rescue on Vanafor, something powerful had happened. The war wasn't just Earth's fight anymore. It belonged to everyone who had suffered under the Vexery, and now they were coming across the stars. Hidden rebel groups stepped into the light on a mining world called Corven. A group of former slaves rose up and took over a Vexery base. They sent one message to Earth: greater than we are with you. On the oceanic world of Thalzir, a small race known as the Zilari opened their deep space gates for the first time in centuries. They let human ships through. They gave them fuel. They gave them shelter. They said only this: greater than you fight for others. Now we fight for you. Soon more came. The Tevik Syndicate, smugglers and traders, once feared across the core systems, began running supplies to human forces. The Drini nomads, a warrior people long hunted by the Vexery, joined the battle not for pay but for revenge, and in secret. Even some Vexery soldiers began to disappear from their ranks. Some defected, some brought secrets, some brought weapons. One young officer, captured during a raid, looked at Commander Cade and said, I saw what you did for the Lyra. I want to see that again. For my people. But back on Earth, the war effort grew stronger every day. Factories ran without stop. Farmers worked longer hours. Children collected scrap metal to help build new ships. There were no protests. No riots. Only unity. Elias Ward stood before a crowd in Geneva, speaking not as a leader, but as a man who had seen too much pain and still believed in peace. We do not fight because we love war, he said. We fight because we love life. Behind him, Mirail stood tall. Her voice reached out to the minds of those listening. Greater than, you do not have to be strong to stand for good. You only have to choose it. That choice spread like fire. In orbit above Mars, a new fleet formed. Not just human. Not just Terran, but a coalition of species. United by one truth: the Vexery could fall, and they would. The turning point came at Orn Station, a key Vexery supply hub near the edge of known space. If humans could take it, they could cut off entire fleets from reinforcements. Commander Cade led the strike. His fleet dove through a storm of enemy fire. Fighters danced through laser storms. Bombers dropped death from above. The station fired everything it had. Cade didn't flinch. He flew straight into the heart of the station in a fighter too small to survive. He didn't come alone. Lyra, mines reached into enemy command centers, making guards doubt, making pilots hesitate. Zilari hackers shut down shields for just enough time. Tevik smugglers delivered surprise missiles from hidden paths, and Drini warriors stormed the lower decks like ghosts of war. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the station belonged to humanity, and the cost? Low. Because for the first time, the Vexery ran. Word spread fast. The Vexery were not invincible. Their empire had ruled through fear. Now, that fear was cracking. On dozens of worlds, rebellion began to rise. Vexery governors found themselves betrayed. Slaves turned into soldiers. Watchers became spies. And in the dark corners of space, old messages were passed between rebels. Greater than, the Terrans do not run. The Terrans remember the weak. The Terrans fight for us all? Even among the Vexery, doubt grew. Some whispered in secret meetings. Others watched the footage of human kindness after battle and asked, greater than, why do they care for us? We tried to kill them. No one had an answer, except the ones who chose to defect. Not all victories came without loss. On the icy moon of Garniz 9, a human relief team arrived too late. The Vexery had already executed the local population. Among the dead were children, families, elders. Elias Ward walked through the ruins. his breath visible in the cold air. Mirail stood beside him. Silent tears falling, they buried the bodies together. And then Elias made a promise. "We will not forget them," he said. "We will not let this happen again." From that moment on, every mission carried a new rule, greater than no one gets left behind. No one gets forgotten, no one fights alone. That promise became law, and the galaxy took notice. Back on Earth, the people watched the battles unfold. They cheered when their side won. They mourned when someone fell, but they never stopped believing. Commander Cade stood before the United Earth Council once more, this time. He didn't speak. He played a single video, footage of a child on a distant world. Handing a flower to a wounded soldier, the soldier smiled, the child laughed, and the screen faded to black. Then, Cade spoke. "This is why we fight," he said. "Not for power, not for land, but for moments like that." Silence followed, then one by one. The council members stood, and they clapped. Not for Cade, but for everyone who had chosen to fight for something better, for freedom, for hope. The war was nearly over, but not quite. The Vexery had lost too many ships, too many worlds, too much control, yet they still held their capital world, Vexer Prime, a fortress in the stars, a place of fear, of power, of endless war machines. It was time to end it. Commander Cade stood on the bridge of the USS Iron Will, looking at the massive fleet behind him. Thousands of ships. Humans. LIRR.XELAR.TVAK.DRE. Defectors. This was no longer just a human fight. This was a galaxy rising. Elias Ward walked up beside him. "You ready for this?" he asked. Cade didn't smile. "I've been ready since the first child died." He turned to his crew. "All ships, prepare for final jump." And then they vanished into hyperspace. They dropped out near Vexer Prime. The sky burned with enemy fire. Hundreds of Vexery warships waited for them. Lasers lit the void like lightning. Missiles flew like rain. The battle began. Human fighters weaved between death, striking hard and fast. But bombers dove into enemy lines, dropping payloads that tore through armor. Lyra mines reached into enemy command centers, making soldiers doubt, making leaders question, making some surrender before they even fired a shot. Zalari hackers shut down shields. Tevek smugglers brought hidden weapons. Drini warriors stormed the lower decks of enemy ships like ghosts of war. And Commander Cade led the charge. His fighter flew straight into the heart of the Vexery fleet. He didn't care if he lived, he only cared about finishing this. The battle raged for hours. Then came the turning point. A team of elite human and Lyra soldiers boarded the central Vexery command station on the planet below. Their mission? Destroy the core AI that controlled the entire defense grid. They fought through waves of guards. Explosions rocked the halls. Blood stained the walls. The final door. Elias and Mirail stood side by side. She looked at him. "Do you believe we can win?" He nodded. "We already have." They opened the door. Inside, the last Vexery leader stood alone. He was old, tired. He looked at them and said, "Why do you keep fighting? We offered peace once." Elias stepped forward. "Peace isn't peace when you burn homes to ask for it." Mirail raised her hand, and the AI fell silent. Outside, the defense grid went dark. And the human fleet broke through. Vexer Prime fell. The war was over, but humanity did not stop there. They did not occupy. They did not enslave. They did not take revenge. Instead, they rebuilt. They helped former Vexery citizens find new lives. They gave food to the hungry. They gave hope to the broken. Elias stood in front of a crowd of freed people and spoke. "We are not here to rule. We are here to help you rise." Some wept, some cheered. Others simply stared in disbelief. One young girl ran up to him and handed him a flower. He took it, and he smiled. Back on Earth, the people celebrated. Not with wild parties or drunken joy, with quiet pride. They had done something no one else had ever done. They had stood for someone else, for the weak, for the lost, for the forgotten. On the steps of the United Earth Council building, a statue was placed, a human soldier and a Lyra standing back to back, weapons raised, ready for anything. Beneath it, engraved in stone, greater than they were warned once. We chose mercy, they chose war, and we chose each other. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. The Galactic Concord was formed, a new alliance of species. Working together. No one ruled. Everyone had a voice. The Lyra became peacekeepers, helping to heal old wounds. The humans became protectors, not conquerors. And across the stars, a message spread, greater than if you need help, call Earth. Some races laughed, some doubted, but those who had seen what humans could do knew the truth. They were not just another species, they were something new, something rare, something the galaxy had almost forgotten. Heroes. In a small village on Earth. Elias sat under a tree. Beside him, Mirail watched the sunset. It is beautiful, she said. Elias nodded. Double quotes, yeah, it is. They sat in silence for a while. Then she asked, what now? He looked at her. Now, we live, we build, we remember. She smiled, and we never forget who we fought for. No, he said. Never again. Above them, the sky was clear. No warplanes. No storms. Just stars and peace.